Cursor raised $60 million. Windsurf raised another $40 million. And then one developer, working alone, shipped an open-source alternative to both of them and posted it on Hacker News. That tool is called Modo. And before you assume it's a toy project, let me show you what it actually does, because some of it genuinely surprised me. Modo is an AI-powered coding environment. Think of it as a VS Code extension on steroids. It sits inside your editor and lets you talk to an AI about your code, across multiple files, at the same time. You can open a project, describe a feature you want, and Modo will propose changes across your entire codebase, not just the file you're looking at. Here's a concrete example. Say you're building a REST API and you want to add authentication. In a normal workflow, you'd be copying function signatures, updating your routes file, modifying middleware, and hoping nothing breaks. With Modo, you describe the intent, add JWT authentication to all protected routes, and it maps the changes across every relevant file before touching anything. You review the diff. You approve. It applies. The AI backend is not locked to one model. Modo supports OpenAI, Anthropic Claude, and local models through Ollama. That last one is important. If you're working on proprietary code and you don't want it leaving your machine, you can run everything locally. Cursor doesn't give you that option by default. Windsurf doesn't either. What surprised me was the context handling. Most AI coding tools struggle when your codebase gets large, they hit token limits and start hallucinating or dropping context. Modo uses a retrieval approach that tries to pull only the relevant files into the prompt window, which keeps costs down and coherence up. It's not perfect, but it's a real engineering choice, not a marketing claim. Now let's be honest about what Modo does not do, because this is where the gap with the funded competitors becomes visible. Modo has no proprietary training. Cursor and Windsurf have both fine-tuned models on massive amounts of code. That institutional memory, patterns from millions of repositories, is something Modo doesn't have. It's using the same base models you could call yourself through an API. That matters for things like autocomplete speed and suggestion quality on obscure languages or frameworks. The setup experience is rough. You're configuring API keys manually, choosing your model provider, adjusting context window settings. There's no onboarding wizard. If you're a developer who's comfortable in a terminal, fine. If you were hoping to hand this to a non-technical teammate, that's not happening yet. There's also no collaborative or team mode. Cursor has started shipping features around shared context and team knowledge bases. Modo is a solo tool right now. One developer, one machine. And the UI is functional, not polished. This is not a criticism, it's a trade-off. The developer chose to ship fast in open source rather than spend 6 months on onboarding animations. But if you're comparing it side by side with Windsurf's interface, Modo looks like what it is, a version 0.1 from one person. So what could Modo realistically become? The Ollama integration is the most interesting thread to pull. As local models keep improving, and they are improving fast, a tool that already supports local inference is positioned well. Imagine a version of Modo where your entire AI coding workflow runs offline, on your own hardware, with no subscription, no data leaving your machine, and no latency from a remote API call. That's a real value proposition for enterprise teams with compliance requirements, and it's not something the VC-backed tools are incentivized to build. There's also a plugin ecosystem angle. Because Modo is open source under a permissive license, other developers can extend it. If a community forms around it, adding support for more model providers, building team features, improving the context engine, this could evolve significantly without the core developer needing to do all the work. If you're thinking about deploying Modo for a small team and want a stable server environment to run your local model backend, DigitalOcean's GPU droplets are worth looking at. The link is in the description. Now, why does this project exist? Because Cursor costs $20 a month. Windsurf has a free tier but gates the good stuff. GitHub Copilot is baked into an ecosystem that not everyone wants to be inside. And none of them let you fully control where your code goes. The developer behind Modo looked at this landscape and made a bet that not everyone wants a polished SaaS product with a monthly invoice. A lot of developers, want something they can run themselves, audit, modify, and own.
That's not a niche position.
That's the entire philosophy behind VS Code, behind Linux, behind most of the infrastructure the internet actually runs on.
Is Modo going to replace Cursor tomorrow? No. The gap in model quality and UX polish is real.
But it doesn't need to replace Cursor to matter. It needs to be good enough for developers who prioritize ownership over convenience, and for that use case, it's already closer than you'd expect from a one-person project.
If that trade-off fits your workflow, the GitHub link is in the description. It's free, it's open source, and you can read every line of it.
Next episode, we're looking at a tool that runs AI code review directly in your pull request pipeline, no human reviewer needed for the first pass.
If that sounds useful or terrifying, subscribe so you don't miss it.